Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. I think you can see my whiteboard, right?
Yes, sir, we can see your
Yes,
whiteboard.
yes.
Okay, fantastic. So let me start with the today's session. Today we're going to talk about the literature review, systematic literature review, and I'm going to share few tools. I'm very much in fond of not to giving you lecture, but hands-on training, showing you few tools and techniques where you can take help and support. Okay. So in a systematic literature review, which we also call the SLR, systematic literature review, in the systematic literature review, the most important part is we need to take a research question or research problem, identifying the research question and research problem at the very beginning. Yesterday I already told you everyone that we need to have some research question and research problem so that I can work with that, and I'm pretty sure you are working on that. But if you have any, you can share today in today's class, so I can able to help you whether this research question is fit for the SLR. Okay, to write a SLR paper. So our main overall research journey is based on systematic literature review and meta-analysis. So the systematic literature review and meta-analysis are correlated together, and therefore we started with the systematic literature review, its tools and technique in today's class. Next class, I need your research questions and research problem so that I can tell you whether you are in the right track to start your paper. Okay. Okay. So now, anyone have any idea about systematic literature review? I think you already had the idea about the systematic literature review, right?
Little bit we have
Sir, it
some
is
idea.
it is looking into the studies of the fast regarding a particular research question.
Yes. Basically, in the systematic literature review, there are two important terms that we need to follow before we select any research question or title. Okay. The first term that is important for us to follow is called the PICOS. Okay. PICOS. I'm going to write down it in here. PICOS. Have you heard about this? PICOS?
No, sir.
Okay.
Yes, little bit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Little bit, right? Okay. So here P stands for patient. Okay. PATIENTS, patients. Or in other words, number of observation. Okay. Number of observations. Or you can say sample size. What is our sample size? For example, what type of patient, their age, their sex, their income status, maybe their position, and what are our control group and what are our experimental group if we are doing something on the medicine domain. But if we are doing something on the business or maybe in the life science, they are also what is our number of observation that we are focusing on. This is very important. So because the first P stands for patients, in other words, we can say number of observations or sample size, and it denoted by N. This is very important to understand who are our target audience, who are our target population, whom we are targeting. It is very important. First thing that yes, we are targeting this. For example, if we are doing something on in economics, and let us assuming that we are doing something on GDP data So it is very important that we need to identify the country, which country we are talking about when we are collecting the GDP. Is it India? Is it Bangladesh? Is it Ethiopia? Or is it USA? It depends on the observation of country and number of samples. So that is the first point. Here, because P stands for patients. Who are our patients? In the medical sense, we are using this quite often, the number of patients or observations. Then I is our intervention. Okay, intervention. Okay. And can anyone tell me what is intervention means? Any idea?
Maybe intervention is like a research question, a particular research question.
Okay. In medicine, okay, because systematic literature review and meta-analysis often used in medical science, and this is a part and parcel of the medical science. And I'm telling you one thing, if you are good at systematic literature review and meta-analysis, your job availability across the world, even if you are working as an academician in a respective universities or colleges, but you can still do some collaborative research, getting some funding, publishing good articles, as well as you can do some freelancing work for other universities as a part of your knowledge, using your knowledge as a part of this systematic literature review and meta-analysis. So it is a very important field, and whoever is good at this field, they will get enormous time and opportunities across the world. So this is very important. That's why we are learning this together. So here intervention
So
means
intervention means is a new change in that particular domain.
no. Here basically yes. Thank you for trying. Here intervention in the case of medicine, we actually divide our patient into control group and experimental group. Okay, let's assume we are doing an experiment. So let's say in a RCT trial, which is called randomized control trial, and this is also I will explain later. RCT trial, there are two group of patients. One is control group, the other one is the experimental group. Now in the experimental group, we want to introduce a drug, and we want to see how this drug works in a experimental group as opposed to control group whom we are not giving any sort of drug or anything. So we want to see how this drug is working at experimental group, and this drug, the very drug we are talking about, we consider as an intervention. This is from the medicine side. Now, if we're talking about from the management, business, social science aspect, then we can say this is a policy. For example, government of... can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Now
Yes.
we are able to. Yes.
Yes, despite it's heavily raining here.
I know, but in my place...
Very heavy rain is here, but I'm trying to listen.
Okay. Today is a festival day. Today is, in West Bengal.
It's raining.
Yeah, in West Bengal and also in Bangladesh, we are observing Durga Puja. Do you think about that?
Yes, we know Durga Puja.
It's-
Yeah, it's finished.
It's raining.
So today is in your place it's raining, and in our place
Yes.
festival time.
Yes.
So
Oh, it's raining. Okay. Anyways, I'm listening. I'm trying to listen.
okay, sure. I'm sharing
Thank
my
you.
screen again.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay, so intervention means that we are using a drug. In terms of social science and management science, we use a policy intervention. For example, policy considered as an intervention. For example, government of India introduced a tax policy over the fiscal policy as a part of the fiscal policy, and the government of India wants the people of India to pay income tax, additional some income or something like that. So there is a new policy introduced in the economy, and the policy makers, they want to see how people respond this new policy. So this policy considered as a intervention. Now, if we consider it as a life science, then you see sometimes we use the chemical. and there is a agent, chemical agent. So if there is a chemical agent we are using for a chemical experimental experiment, at that time, considering that chemical is an intervention. So intervention is something that we are going to apply in the experimental group, or a policy that is going to apply in a country as a for the population, or in a laboratory we may use an agent to find out the reaction about the experiment for the chemical reactions. Understand what the intervention means?
So it means impact, you mean to say?
Yes,
Impact.
yes.
Something significant that we are using to see how the control and the experiment groups are working, comparison between these two groups, any comparison, like before and after policy, what happened before and after policy, what is the new thing that we are using to see. So intervention is something like that. And in every systematic literature review, either we use from the medicine background, we use this drug intervention, or social science, we sometimes use policy. For example, impact of this on that. This impact, we are looking for impact. So that impact we are talking about as considered as a intervention. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now the next
Yes,
thing
sir.
is the control. Control. What is control? Now, when we are using any experiment, drug should be compared with something else, right? Maybe there is no drug and there is drug. So that is a comparison, right? There is another term we use in a medical science. It's called the placebo. Have you heard about the placebo effect?
Yes, yes. We know that.
Yes. So the placebo effect means there is a technique we use in a medical science that having not to push giving any antibiotics or any drug, but something that can give patients a satisfaction. It's something that is not available, but for example, a composer or maybe a good taking care of by the doctors and by the nurse. These are some effect. The patient has this effect and they might cure from this good care, but not using any particular drugs. That's called the placebo effect. And placebo effect may be comparing with the drug that we're using on an experimental group. So placebo versus drug, or we can say no drug versus use of drug, or in the case of policy, no policy, in the case of no policy and use of a policy. So one is no policy, considering as a control, and intervention means we are using a policy to the government, by the government to the country's population. That's the thing is called the control. Control means the people who are not having any drug or any sort of treatment as compared to the experiment group. So that is the control. So it is very important. You need to find out what is the comparative or comparison with the intervention, or meaning that what we are comparing with intervention. So control and interventions are very important when we are forming a research question. We need to identify what we are actually comparing with. So if we are looking for some impact of some policy or maybe drug, so what impact we are looking for as compared to whom? As compared to there is no drug before and now we are using drug and we would like to see what is the outcome of this drug. If that is the case, then we say our intervention is the drug and control is there is no use of drug. And that is the reason why we actually divide the two groups, control and experimental group. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now the final one is the outcome, and outcome might be the number of people cured, the number of people death, or the number of changes, which also we call the event. Okay. Number of changes after our experiment. What are the number of changes? After our policy, what is the outcome? Maybe GDP is changing. So what is the change? That is our outcome. And sometimes in outcome, we also use this important term, which also in the meta-analysis we use effect size. Okay, outcome is correlated to the effect size. When we are calculating the effect size, we need the outcome, and I will give you example and detail in explanation about the effect size when we start the meta-analysis. Today we are talking about more on systematic literature review. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, outcome means the result of the previous studies.
Experiment. Result of the
Experiments, okay.
experiment. For example,
Okay.
we are looking at after using the drug, how many people cured in the experimental group and from the control group. So there is no drug applied in the control group. How many people naturally cured, and after using a drug, how many people cured by the use of drug. So that is
Okay.
one event from experimental group, other event coming from the number of event coming from the control group. So there are
Okay.
two number of events coming from two different group of people from the medicine point of view. From the policy point of view, one event, maybe the GDP is changing before what happened and now what happening in the after using the policy. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Okay. And final, we are using the study design. S means study design. Okay. Study design. And study design is the inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria. That is our study design. So based on this PICOS, P-I-C-O-S, PICOS, we will identify our research question and title of the study. So before we do anything, we need to target who are our population, what is our intervention, what is the control group, what is our outcome, and what type of study design we are going to apply. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. And in the study design, we can also say how many years we are taking. So for example, the time period. So sometimes we also write PICOT. Instead of S, we say T, PICOT. T means time period. For example, last 10 years, we need to check the papers based on last 10 years. Maybe geographical location, maybe population density and their characteristics. So those things changes over time. So time is also very important variable while we are downloading articles from different sources. So we may use PICOT or PICOS, whatever you use. Time is also an important variable. So last 10 years, last 5 years is very important to mention while we are collecting our data and designing our title. Everyone understand?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. So this is the first important part. Now, the next important part is what are the characteristics we are expecting from a systematic literature review? What are the characteristics, the research journals? For example, if you are submitting your article in a Scopus Index journal, high impact factor journal, UGC care listed journal, the reviewers. For example, I am one of the reviewer in one of the journal in Malaysia and also in Indonesia. So once a paper comes to us, what we actually look for, what are the main characteristics we look for in a systematic literature review and meta-analysis research paper, especially the systematic literature review. So in this case, there is a technique, and this technique we call it true technique. This is something called the true. TRUE. Have you heard about this technique, true?
No.
Okay, this is a technique called the true. Now,
Technique
what
means
does
the
yeah
correct analysis we have to do.
yeah
Analysis should be correct. Then only we say it's true technique. Am I right?
yeah
Little
true
bit.
technique, right? True systematic review, right? Truly systematic review. So this true technique is T stands for transparency. Transparency. Okay. You need to be very transparent. Do not hide any information. For example, in a systematic literature review or meta-analysis, it is advisable to work at least 2 researchers, not 1. It is advisable because when we are collecting the information, sometimes one researcher make mistakes and that can influence the whole research process. So it is very, very important that you should not do any mistakes in any step of systematic literature review, starting from the title selection. And therefore, it is advisable to collaborate with at least 1 researcher. So there should be 2 authors in a research work. And that's why I'm saying when we are writing a research article, while we are doing it in this course, I will collaborate with you as a mentor, as a co-author, so that the editor will understand that, yes, they actually follow a system and they are very transparent about their work because they always cross-check every steps of their systematic and meta-analysis review. So this is number 1, transparency, very important, transparency, each step. Then we come R. R for reproducible. Reproducible or robust. Okay. Or robust methodology. Okay. Now, if you are using a data set or using a technique that is cannot be followed by other researchers, other fellow academicians, then your steps or your methodology is not going to accept by the journal. It should be a common standard. It should be a reproducible or imitatable and robust methodology. It should be a common, following a common standard. And in our, I will show you what is the common standard we follow in the systematic literature review. Now the U means unbiasedness. Okay, unbiasedness. Now, what is unbiasedness? Unbiasedness means sometimes what happens, we try to take the research paper which our expectation, our objective, they support. So we collect those research papers that actually supports our objective or our research findings. If we are doing that, we are wrong. We need to collect without considering which paper is supporting our research objective or which paper is not supporting. Because if we are only collecting and taking the research article which are supporting our findings, our objective, our research question only, and nothing else, no other opposing argument, then we are actually biased. And this is one of the part where reviewer will reject your research article. Nowadays, almost 90% of the research paper, when it comes to the journal, they immediately screen out and DEX reject their work. Only 10% go through the review process, because every now and then you will see a good journals will receive 500 to 600 articles and their issue will consider only 10 to 15 articles. So how would they consider all the 500 articles or 400 articles? It's not possible for them. So the DEX reject most of the cases if they screen out and they don't find out the merit of your paper. So it is very important. And therefore, when we are writing this paper in this course, I will try to share with you what are the merit you can take out from my course. And finally, we have E. E means explicit. 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 This is also very much related to the transparency. Explicit means you need to, even if it is a very small step, you need to be very elaborate and detailed about your work. Do not hide. Even if it is a Boolean operator that you are using, and, or, not, it is very important that you have mentioned how many times you use these Boolean operators to search your journal articles in a Scopus or PubMed databases. So Boolean operator means, for example, hypertension and vitamin D, or hypertension or let's say something else that we are looking for in a search box, or maybe your any title that you are searching. So you need to search with the keywords. And when we're using the keywords, sometimes we use and, or, not. These are the keywords we use while we are searching. And these keywords are very important because these are the part of the search results. So you need to mention in your research article that how many times you use this type of search keywords, Boolean operators. And that is, you need to be explicit about your steps. So that is how you can formulate your whole research using this true technique or true method, which is called the truly systematic literature review. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Now, let us talk about one by one. As I told you that there is a transparency is very clear. Now, what is reproducible or robust methodology? One of the robust methodology or the way we follow is called the PRISMA technique. PRISMA technique. Okay. So let me share this PRISMA technique with you. Let me go and we will see. This is the PRISMA technique or PRISMA website. You see, PRISMA statement, PRISMA extension, PRISMA translation, PRISMA endorsement. Okay. And there is a fantastic one thing I would like to share with you, that in here, you don't have to do anything. Once you have a data set, either from the PubMed or maybe from Google Scholar or maybe from the SciSpace, once you have that CSV file, then there is a very good link here. This link, if you click that link, you will see that there is a shiny app or interactive dashboard is already provided for you for free here to create this type of flowchart. Is it clear to everyone, the flowchart?
Yes. Yes.
So you do not need to manually build this nice flowchart. The system will create flowchart for you. And you see here, identification, screening, and included. Okay, 3 steps of your research paper filtration. How you filter your research papers from database to finally select the number of research article for your systematic review. Any question?
Okay. I think there is no question. But what if we use any other open source to draw out this flowchart?
Yes, you can use any other tools to create the flowchart, but why bother when there is a already provided a free
Oh,
option to you?
okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, so this is very interesting. Most of the cases, everyone, that most of the cases we fail
Some
to.
persons are including this picture in their research paper. I've seen in local journals. They are given this in their research paper. This diagram itself they are given just for the look forward in the research papers. How they taken the samples like that. They are given this. Whether it is applicable, this diagram to be presented in the research paper.
Yes, it is applicable to systematic review, and maybe it is important and very much part of the systematic literature review, but you can use it some other places, but mostly this is applicable to systematic literature review. And you will see those research article who does not have this type of PRISMA flowchart, the reviewer will consider this is a poor research work. Understand?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So you see, if you
So
go
what
down,
is the information that this flowchart provides, sir?
yes, the flowchart provides the information I will share with you. The flowchart provides, once you collect the data, you see the previous studies, identification of new studies via database like Scopus and PubMed. And you see studies included previous version. If you have a previous review, you can collect that. But you starting from here, records identification. So how many paper that you are collecting and how many databases you are searching. Yesterday, you told me that can we only search for a size space? I told you not to search only size space. You go for PubMed, Google Scholar, maybe Scopus, right? So here it says number of databases. K is stands for number of databases. Then how many papers registered in those databases? From there, how many papers that we remove? There are some duplicate papers from different databases. Since we are collecting, there are some duplicates paper. Maybe we can screen out those duplicate papers. Some of the papers does not fall under our research title. Some of the papers does not follow the research objective of our research. So depending on that, we filter, and finally we end up with the number of studies that we actually review for the systematic literature review as a part of the systematic literature review, which is also important for the meta-analysis part as well. Once we finally decided how many research papers we are going to collect data from. So that is the steps, very well-designed steps, and given by the PRISMA authority. They are giving us a clear picture of how you can do it. So it is self-explanatory. I'm sharing the link. You can have a look. It is very easy. It doesn't have any difficulties. It has also a CSV file free of for sample, as a sample. You can always try that sample and follow. Once you are downloading article, design your article based on the sample as well. So there is a lot of information given here, and you can see here that if you go down there is a play button. Once you click this play button, the literature review, the flowchart requires a CSV file where your data are collected according to the columns mentioned in the PRISMA statement. And there is, of course, a sample of given in the PRISMA statement, a CSV file. You follow that, and you can able to build your own flowchart based on the PRISMA diagram. Clear, everyone?
Sir, but it is of Excel sheet you are coming to say that the file should be, or it may be of image file we can upload in that.
No, it is only the CSV file, because here we're talking about number of studies, number of databases that we are trying to search, those things. For example, here you see upload your edited file to CSV file. You see there is a download the template CSV file. You can
Could you show the CSV file structure?
Question, please.
What
Prof, can I ask one
present?
question?
Please.
Thank you, Prof. Really, it's true that it will take the CSV files, but the problem is the CSV file consists of a number of columns. So
Number of columns.
Many columns are there.
Yeah, you don't need to give, you don't need to give so many columns. Whatever your research objective and research question is,
yeah,
at least
automatically generated.
Yes, at least follow the template, and according to your search. I'm sure number of columns that you can able to collect, you put that in the CSV file. Not everything you can collect, and not everything is possible by you, right? It's a comprehensive one. So the template given here, you follow the template and create your own CSV file and upload it. Image, image is not going to help in this particular case. An image is not a part of the analysis. The image is not a part of the analysis in the systematic literature review. Systematic literature review basically based on the number of articles that we are downloading from different databases. Number of articles, number of databases, how many papers we are selecting, how many papers we are including, based on what inclusion criteria, based on what exclusion criteria. That is the part of the PRISMA flowchart. Is that clear to you?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Yeah, sir. I talked about data set. Sorry, it's a data set. Now only I recognize. That's a data set.
That is data set is different, because when we use the machine learning, maybe image analysis, that is something else. It's not a part of the systematic literature review or meta-analysis. That is different methodology, statistical methodology. Clear?
Yeah, so clear. It's clear.
Okay, fantastic.
Sir, please explain the template CSV file contents, what that are present.
Okay. So let me share the CSV file with you. It's very simple. You see here, this is the same sample of the CSV file, PRISMA CSV file. Now you see here, it says data. Now there are some previous studies. There are this column. You don't need all the columns, as I told you that the columns also contain the different URL as well, and it says number of how many data set you are actually collecting from different sources. All this information are given in this particular CSV file. What I would like to suggest you, okay, one of my research article I would like to share with you. Let me share my article with you. Recently, I wrote a paper and it actually accepted by a good journal. So to make your life simple, I would like to share one of my article to you. Okay. And this is not to create any CSV file. Not everything we should follow the PRISMA, but PRISMA is a guideline, but not everything we should need to go to the PRISMA and create the flowchart, but we can do it like this. You see, very clear flowchart, PRISMA flowchart. I have study retrieved from database searching 117, simple. Additional studies, I mean, from other sources, number of articles 10. From there, studies after duplicates removed 107. There are duplicates studies from 2 different sources I have collected. So 107 I removed. Then studies screened 107, and after screen out, record excluded, meaning that some exclusion criteria are there. For example, number of years that we are talking about. If this is the last 5 years or 10 years, then only we collect those 5 years, 10 years article. Previous articles we do not collect. So that after doing some exclusion and inclusion criteria or keywords, inclusion and exclusion criteria, after that I select 55 articles. From there I have full text studies eligible for 52. Then full text article excluded with reasons why I'm excluding it. Maybe my aims and scopes are not fall under those articles. So I removed 35 articles and ended up with the article with the 17 article for my meta-analysis. So initially I collect 107 articles, but ended up with 17 articles, and I create by my own, just a box and using the arrow sign, using the word art in Word document. Very simple, easy, and understandable. And journal also accepted my work, which means it is okay to share this kind of work. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
That's what I'm talking. Can we make it up or use any other sources to draw our flow chart?
Yes. Like you see here that studies retrieved from database searching 117. There are some additional database you can search and find out 10.
Yes.
Like maybe PubMed, maybe Web of Science, maybe Scopus. Yes, you can do it. No problem.
Sir, will you explain how to develop this image using that software or web link through web link?
No, I just do it by manually, because I think that I don't have so many columns, so I don't go for a Prisma. If I have so many columns like Prisma, then of course I will take help from that. And it is always good to know the system, but it is not always advisable to follow the system. You have to follow the system, and that it doesn't matter. But you know the system, you know the steps. That is the important thing.
Okay, right.
Okay. I am here to share all things, not only just official things, unofficial, and how we can do it by ourselves in a simpler manner. That's why you are here, right? So you see, I already explained identification, screening, eligibility, inclusion, all these steps I already explained. After explanation.
One doubt, how did you find out the duplicate you removed? Studies after duplication means of the journals or the paper again repeated? How did you write that studies after duplicate removed?
Okay, let's say you are downloading article from the Scopus, and there are some articles you are already download from Google Scholar. Now Scopus articles are also available in Google Scholar. Scopus articles are also indexed in Web of Science. So when you are downloading articles from different sources, it is usually happen that too many of the articles you are downloading 2 or 3 times, because you are collecting the information from different sources. But this article is indexed in Scopus, Google Scholar, Web of Science. So once you go to the Web of Science, you will find the same article. Once you go to the Google Scholar, you will find the same article. Once you go to the Scopus, you will find the same article. So you downloaded 3 times that particular article. So you need to remove the two articles and keep one article for your study.
Okay, sir.
Should it be done by manually, sir?
Yes. You see, as I told you, you don't need to collect so many hundreds and thousands of articles. You need to collect only those which are applicable to your research question or title of the study. So that will not be too much. And one thing you need to remember, that if there is already a paper written by same title for systematic review, there is no way you can write another systematic review for this paper. Yes, you can do that if there is a gap, time period gap. Let's say 10 years gap. 10 years before there was a paper on the same title using the systematic literature review technique, and you would like to update the information after 10 years, writing the same article, same research title, and same technique, systematic literature review after 10 years. So there is a gap, 10 years gap. Otherwise, if the recent article already published, so there is no way your article will be accepted by the reviewer, because they will just search your title in the database and they will find that this article or this title is already published recently. So what is the need of your article and why would they accept your article? Understand?
Yes.
It is very important to search first that whether it is accepted by some other research journal, your title already done by systematic literature review technique. It is very important. Okay. The next one is, you see, one of PubMed. PubMed is free. Okay, PubMed is free. I already log in by my ORCID ID. You can use your Google Gmail ID or your institutional ID, whatever way you can ID, but ORCID ID, if you don't have the ORCID ID, please create an ORCID ID. ORCID ID will explain that who you are as a researcher. And I'm thinking you must have heard about the ORCID ID, right?
Yes, sir, we are here. And Google ID also, we need Google Scholar ID also.
Yes. So that ID you can use to log in to the PubMed, and it is completely free. And I will share, once we start the class formally, how to download the PubMed data using a Zotero BibTeX file, and then we use Zotero as a reference manager software to insert our referencing while we are writing our paper. So we will see how to download the research article using PubMed if you are doing something on the life science, medical science. If you are not doing anything medical science or life science, then there is no need for going to the PubMed. So there is always, you can use Google Scholar, and in the Google Scholar, you can go to the Google Scholar right side and you see here advanced search. You are looking at that, right? Advanced search. If you click the advanced search, there is a box. Here you can use the inclusion and exclusion criteria. Like for example, with all the words you can search for, or maybe some phrases, or maybe some keywords, or maybe some words that you don't want to add, okay? Maybe by authored, maybe by published, and most important thing is the time period. What is the time period that you are using to search the article? Maybe last 5 years, okay? So that is by Google Scholar. For all the discipline, for all the domain, you can use Google Scholar. But for the medicine or life science, you can use PubMed for your database search. Clear?